I can understand you. What's the date of birth?
March 30th, 1988.
Does anybody need an ambulance there? You said it was physical.
No, we don't need an ambulance.
Okay. And he does not have any weapons or access to weapons?
No. No.
Okay, and how much did he have to drink tonight?
2 bottles.
2 bottles of what?
No. A vodka and Hennessy.
Okay, hard alcohol.
It's alcohol. He's intoxicated.
Okay, sir. I only have to talk to one person, so please put the phone in and talk to Ashley.
Okay, is the sheriff on the way?
Okay, listen, it's over on dispatch, okay? Talking to me is not going to slow anything else down.
State Athletics.
Hey, Pete, how's that jingle for the 79-cent fountain sodas at Quick Stop coming along, huh?
All done, boss. Take a listen. 79 cents is all you pay for Quick Stop sodas every day. 79 cents, large, medium, small. Any flavor, that's your call.
All right, Pete, can you sing plus applicable tax?
Come on, boss. Seriously?
Yep, lawyer said we have to.
For a limited time, get a small, medium, or large fountain soda for just 79 cents at Quick Stop. Excludes extra large and all frozen drinks.
Is your new choice for 24/7 news. Our stories and all that matters to our community. Listen to the Black Information Network now on the iHeartRadio app.
Hey neighbor, when your claims get hard to file, State Farm got to switch it up style. Great rates save you cash, so what if you come join us, you'll get your coins up, oh. Now you know you can save that dough, and you're covered on your ride and your home. For great service on the low, then call up State Farm, it's time to switch it up.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer lasting scent.
The new broadcast home. iHeartMedia is proud to be the official broadcast home of Fresno State Athletics. From Stockton to the Grapevine, listen to Fresno State Athletics on your favorite iHeartMedia stations and on the iHeartRadio app.
How do we do it? With fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, and flaky croissants. You know, the things your old breakfast wasn't doing. So toss that old news and its soggy eggs somewhere useful. And get to Wendy's, where the sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant, and honey butter chicken biscuit are just 2 for $4. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $4.
Limited time only. Single item at regular price. Price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's.
Yep. Now you can collect and organize all the music you love into playlists for any mood or activity. And it's totally free. Your workout music. The make the hours fly by at work music. Epic road trip music. All of it free for you to make the playlist for all of life's moments. Free to all and super easy to do. Start your playlist now in the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful July the 14th, 2021. Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Big C, the Vidi Vidi Vici. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, just another beautiful day of liquid sunshine down here in the South, Charlton, which would make it real difficult if you're trying to slide through somebody's window. Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, and first responders. Just in case you slip and fall, they'll brace you up.
They will brace you up. It's all fair level war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also never stop arriving. And I'm going to say all around the world, just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic. He'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing Big C, but I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline They really are experienced helping veterans, and their loved ones can help. More people are doing it from sea to shining sea, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as we pay homage to our veterans on one day out of the year through Veterans Day, Charlton, our veterans suffer many times on a daily basis, Charlton, through various things. A lot of mental illness, a lot of physical and financial ailments that they have also. And unfortunately, that has led to suicide. When you think about people being under duress, not knowing what's going on around them in their surroundings, not always being aware, that's many of our veterans, Charlton. And unfortunately, this horrific disease of suicide has afflicted too many of them.
Yeah.
We need to find a solution to that as Americans and also as a world, because it happens everywhere. And people hate to talk about it because they want to say that it's embarrassing, that it's a stain on their family. No, burying somebody is a stain on your family, Charlton. And that's what people need to think about, the plight of our veterans mentally as well as financially on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I know our government and our Republicans always say that they're always behind the military, but if they put as much effort, Charlton, into helping out military veterans and stopping suicide as they do in trying to stop the vote of black and brown people, Charlton, we would not have this suicide rate in our military.
Very well said. I love doing our part. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones, even if that loved one is you. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the first place San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to help put people back to work. Just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You can see all of our sponsors pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You know, so much is going on in this great country, and I know that we can talk about things that we agree or disagree on, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I know coming out of the West Coast, we were just talking about football yesterday, Big C, and how people are maybe getting ready for who's going to win a game or who's going to have the most successful season coming up. And, you know, but that's prognostication. On every show, we talk about being no need for racism or domestic violence. I mean, there's no need for it. And many people have never experienced a 911 call, so I played a live 911 call before the beginning of the show and our sponsors, and I did that for a purpose. People need to know what happens when you call it. It's only about 45 seconds. But I just want to say the NFL universe has one of his prized media markets and also his prized football players. He's still out there looking for a team, I guess. But NFL great Richard Sherman, former Stanford graduate and Seattle Seahawks, as well as San Francisco 49ers. He played in the Super Bowl for both teams, Big C. Reportedly booked into jail. Something doesn't seem right. I guess there's talk about domestic violence, something about maybe an automobile accident. They had a 911 call with his spouse on the phone, just trying to get some help for him, because we open our show with mental health all the time, Big C. I don't know what happened in the whole situation, but it's real. And oftentimes people don't think that athletes have problems, but 911's there to help everybody, and I hope it all turns out for the best. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I guess Richard Sherman can't say that he has never been arrested. I mean, when you think about the incident that he's alleged to be involved in, to break into a woman's house and, try to physically assault her, I mean, that's not a minor thing that you look at. Not only that, Charlton, he had a alleged hit-and-run incident with a car running it into a situation and leaving the scene.
Yeah.
But I think this has become status quo for former 49er players, Charlton. Just earlier this summer, we had a former 49er defensive back who shot and killed 7 members of his family
Yeah.
in South Carolina.
Yeah.
We also had Dana Stubblefield, get 15 years in prison for false imprisonment and rape of a woman, Charlton. We
That's
also
right.
had Alden Smith a few years ago, be arrested for assault and bodily harm to
Yeah.
a woman. So, I mean, this has become common with former San Francisco players.
And as a former player yourself, Big C, I know a lot of guys go through things, and oftentimes if you have enough money, you can get yourself out of it. But the average person maybe can't get out of it. And I know there's 32 teams in the NFL, and almost every one of them has had some type of violent act on their team. It just never hits the media. And this situation may not have hit the media either had there not been a 911 call. Oftentimes people say, oh, that's a family problem. We will handle it inside, and that's unfortunate. But hours before he was arrested, Richard Sherman's wife, Ashley Moss, told 911 dispatchers, you can hear it in the first part of our show, that she needed police at their house immediately, and that Sherman was being aggressive and threatening to kill himself, and that he was, I'm just saying what I saw in the report, Big C, and sent text messages saying that he was going to hang himself. I mean, obviously something's going on, Big C. And then Moss told dispatchers that he attained, I guess he was saying that if police show up, he's going to try to fight them. Big C, that's not the making of a sound individual, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, who knows what drives any individual to any situation in life? I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I can't speak for what Richard Sherman said or what his thoughts were.
Yeah.
I know the police had to release the dogs on him to restrain him, Charlton, because he had threatened to attack them.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to shoot him, so he should be thankful for that.
Yeah.
At the minimum.
Yeah, Big C, that is... I want to get your opinion on something, and everybody has their own, and I'll give you mine. But for people that we always say, if you know anyone going through some trouble, ask for help. Sometimes that's called 911. Sometimes that's called a family member to ask for help. It doesn't always mean call 911, but if you feel threatened or you're trying to save someone's life, maybe that's the most expedient thing to do. So, and you don't have to give any names. Of course, you're not going to do that. But have you encountered playing ball where guys did have a mental and emotional breakdown, but it never went public? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, that happens on a daily basis, not just with athletes, but with people.
Everybody.
Human beings have these type of crises that they go through. I'm not going to sit there and make an excuse for a former professional athlete when he goes through this. He's a person like anybody else, and he's going to get more notoriety in this situation than anybody else.
Yeah.
But here's a guy who's operating as vice president of the Players Association for the NFL.
I know.
So how is he supposed to be mentally unstable if he's representing over 1,500 players?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Nobody can throw, what they say, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones or something of that nation. And I really do believe we don't give this number out for people who are perfect or for people who have a pristine life. We give it out for people who are under some type of duress, and we all go through duress. COVID-19 has revealed a lot of things about a lot of people, their mental health, Big C, and we'll talk about some of those things later in our program. But I don't know what's going on. I just ask people to pay attention to a real 911 call. We had it at the beginning of our show, whether it's a professional athlete or someone that no one knows of. And you got to understand that there is help. And thankfully, Big C, as you said, they didn't want to end his life, and that's not the case for everybody when they show up. But I'm proud that his wife cared enough about him to say this is escalating, and I need help because obviously what was tried before 911, it wasn't working. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, by him being a former NFL player, the police knew who he was when he showed up.
Yeah.
That's the reason he didn't die last night, Charlton, because he got a pass because he was an former NFL player.
Yeah.
Average black man doesn't get that opportunity to live, Charlton.
Yeah. I mean, I just know that I'm glad his wife did the right thing, like we do on every show. I mean, a lot of things we talk about, it comes true, and so if you feel like something's going on, ask for help. A last thing I'll say on this, Police Chief Daryl Lowe said there was a verbal altercation between Sherman and the occupants of a residence prior to the police arriving. It's unclear who was involved, but there were 4 adults present when the officer arrived, and sometimes people have, for whatever reason, it happened up in the state of Washington, Big C, people have libations, or I don't know, I just don't know, but it's a shame. But I'm glad that it's come to the light because somebody that's not famous, they need to know that, Big C, if they make that call, they're going to get some help. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they're not always going to get some help, Charlton, when they make that call. They hope that, a mediator will show up in time before something negative happens.
Yeah.
Here's Richard Sherman trying to break into the woman's house.
Yeah.
Someplace that he did not live, Charlton.
Yeah.
So he was in violation of many laws. He's still in jail because he has to have a bond hearing.
Yeah.
In the state of Washington, when you commit domestic violence or attempt to commit domestic violence, you can't post bail until you see a judge.
Yeah, until you see a judge. And that's something that everybody needs to know. And final thought for any woman or any man or any child going through any situation where someone's brutalizing you or hurting you and you feel you have no help, just pick up that phone and you call 911 and help us on the way. I think you'll hear that on the beginning of the call. It's not the clearest verbal of recording that I heard, but I wanted to play that because I think it's so important, as every 20 seconds in this country, somebody is under some form of domestic violence in the United States of America. So I wish the best for that situation. I'm sure that the NFL and Roger Goodell are going to have a statement to release, but they're going to hopefully wait until the facts come out. And don't be quiet when you see something going wrong. Try to help some people. It's all fair and love and war. Big C, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I want to run to another football story. And again, everybody has their own opinion. There's no perfect way to cook a potato. Some people like French fries, some people like them mashed, and others like them however they do it raw, Big C. But college football, and some people feel there's no reason to feel sorry for athletes such as a Reggie Bush, or it could be Eric Dickerson, the Pony Express way back in the day, or other guys, Maurice Clarett at Ohio State back in the day, that have had some issues. And when you think about it, if you expect USC fans in reality to feel sorry for a guy that's most recently known as Reggie Bush, and it must live in an alternative universe, some people feel. But I heard an apology by Reggie. Some people they're adamant that they did not hear an apology. Maybe he should have said it 10 more times. But even turning in his Heisman Trophy wasn't an apology. But at the same time, I don't know how to get to the bottom of it, because a lot of things, just like the Richard Sherman case, we never know what happens. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, people know what happened in the Reggie Bush case. I mean, it's not a hidden figure. I mean, everyone knows that he received illegal benefits. His family received illegal benefits. USC, think about what he did to USC in this scenario, Charlton, where they lost 60 scholarships. Think about what he did to those 60 young men who had the potential of going to USC under scholarship. We never know what they would have done in history, Charlton, whether they would have ended up being scholars, whether they'd have been professional athletes, or whatever, they could have done in a positive light in life if they'd have had that opportunity to have a scholarship to USC. Reggie Bush took that away from them. So when you think about Reggie Bush and what he should get back as far as a Heisman Trophy or some records, think about those 60 young men that never got an opportunity to attend college because of the selfishness of Reggie Bush and his family.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who are selfish. They just don't get known in the media. But USC, some people suffered draconian sanctions in his football program. Pete Carroll benefited on the way out of town. Didn't really hurt him. But the imposed restrictions by the NCAA, which the Supreme Court ruled was crooked and unconstitutional, and they were committing crimes. So with the law that Reggie Bush or Maurice Clarett broke, or whoever broke, Dickerson back in the day, they broke the law. It's an oxymoron when the NCAA is considered doing illegal activities. So how do you break the law when the activity that you're breaking was set up by an illegal institution according to the Supreme Court? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we have that every day in voting rights in America. I mean, we look at Republicans putting restrictive voting rights on people, putting draconian laws into place, Jim Crow laws into place, Charlton, to prevent people from voting, an inevitable right.
Yeah.
And so when I look at an athlete who knows what the rules is, who is intelligent enough to sneak the benefits that he's getting, not putting it out front, then telling everybody holding a press conference, look, my family just got a house, I got X amount of dollars, and we're doing these things. And people knowing about it, Charlton, would have been the proper thing to do. If it was a draconian act, why did he not make it public at the time when he was receiving the benefits?
And in defense of Reggie Bush and every other college athlete, if you realize people that have that point of view, Big C, the NCAA, you can Google it, they were ruled an illegal enterprise. That means they should have had no standing in the court, but they used so much of their money to fight it from going to court. But in front of the Supreme Court, there's butterflies all over the place, Big C. Butterflies are free to roam. But the Supreme Court said that these players who were considered breaking, making illegal, receiving false, improper benefits, they're saying that the NCAA was crooked. So how do you be a crooked organization and you punish people for breaking crooked laws, Big C? Your thoughts?
We'll put it to you this way, Charlton. Is marijuana legal in California?
It's illegal in, I think, 19 states.
Is it legal in California?
You tell me. I don't know. It says 19 states.
I'm just asking you. But when you say that the Supreme Court put rulings in, that's a very simple question to ask. Yes, you know that marijuana is legal in California, just like it's legal in Colorado, where they had the All-Star game last night. People that were locked up before it became legal, they're still locked up because at the time when they were locked up, the law was that it was illegal. I know Cheech Marion from Cheech and Chong spent 18 years and they incarcerated in a federal institution there in California for having paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Even after the law had been passed that marijuana was legal as well as his paraphernalia, he was still incarcerated as well as thousands of other people locked up in California, and it's now legal to sell marijuana in California.
Yeah, well, I don't use it. I never have, but I know a lot of people who have and profited from it and are making a lot of money now because in the cannabis business, a lot of former athletes are in it also, Big C. But going back to the Reggie Bush situation or even Maurice Clarett or anybody else, when you think about the rules, it's an oxymoron to break the rule of an illegal person. It's like, Harriet Tubman broke the rules of slavery laws when she was in slavery, Big C, and she ran away. So she was considered a person that broke the law. She broke the slavery law.
And there was a bounty on her head for her life, Charlton.
Exactly.
They had a bounty on her head to kill her. Just because she ran away along with thousands of other slaves, it did not abolish slavery.
Exactly, but it was wrong. It was, in fact, ruled unconstitutional, just like the NCAA. So there are people who said that Harriet Tubman should have been paid a crime with her life because she broke the law that made her a slave and she tried to run away for freedom. So whether it's Reggie Bush or any other person, when people say they knew what they were doing, Harriet Tubman knew what she was doing when she ran away trying to be a free person. But the slave master says she broke the law, Big C. When you look at college players, and there's a lot of dumb people that want to punish people for being smart and trying to survive, and we give our thoughts and prayers to people who were lynched or hanged when they were caught trying to run away and because the abolitionists couldn't help them. But the rules changed, no longer making what they did then a violation if done now. It doesn't change that. So I guess Harriet Tubman, they should go, they can't go back and do it, but based on revisionist history, maybe Harriet Tubman should have been punished for trying to let people go free from a draconian system, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's just like when Jim Thorpe was stripped of his Olympic gold medals and his NCAA eligibility taken away because he worked a job one year during the season and was paid for it as a college athlete. And so he was stripped of all of his wares, Charlton, back in the 1920s as a college athlete.
Yeah.
So Reggie Bush is not an anomaly. It's what the history has shown. And if Reggie Bush had gone to class, he knew about Jim Thorpe. And he knew what he could and could not do. USC has thousands of athletes play sports there. But only Reggie Bush is the one that is known of for taking these excessive benefits. There may have been others, but we know the history shows Reggie Bush has done it. He's the only one sitting there saying, well, I didn't do wrong, but I did get benefits.
Well, I disagree because he gave his trophy back, so I don't know what else he has to say. But some people say he shouldn't get his trophy back. I think he should. If successful, we have it wiped off the past of what happened on a personal level. He'll only be remembered as a Heisman Trophy winning star at USC and also the national championship. I think they had two of them that were vacated by an illegal institution, an oligarchy that was called an illegal enterprise by the Supreme Court. So how someone defends an illegal enterprise and wants to punish the people like Harriet Tubman who freed the slaves because slavery was an illegal enterprise, and some people want to punish Harriet Tubman because she wanted to escape to freedom, and some people want to punish college athletes because
I don't even know how you draw a parallel between slavery and college athletics.
I talked about the illegal enterprise.
Beaten, raped, and murdered. It's the same thing you're talking about with Richard Sherman. We had black people beaten, raped, murdered, mutilated, held against their will every day, enslaved, worked like dogs. These are not, they weren't college athletes. They had no rights. Where college athletes had the right to choose and to compare college athletics to to slavery is an abomination against black people.
No, because you don't read enough. If you listen, you learn more when you listen. And maybe you should listen. So, an illegal enterprise is what slavery was. I know you may not agree with that because you agree with the master was right. Just because you have power and influence over somebody, it does not make your laws justifiable. In fact, Congress said it was an illegal enterprise. You know what illegal means, Big C? It should have never existed. So how do you go back and punish people for having to pay a crime to an illegal enterprise? That's like a person that's enslaved that ran away, like Harriet Tubman is saying that she committed a crime. There were bounties out on her head for murder. They wanted to murder her because she wanted to run away from an illegal enterprise. If you don't see the difference, you just got to read more, Big C. But USC, on the other hand, people say they suffered immensely. But Congress has come back and said the NCAA was wrong. So can you get the program restocked with the schools and the scholarships that they lost because they were punished by an illegal enterprise, Big C? So USC has not won a national football championship since Bush pulled that act of doing what the NCAA did. He violated the laws that were placed in front of him by an illegal enterprise. I don't know how any person with common sense can want to stand behind an illegal enterprise because Congress didn't do it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, I've never been a very smart person, but I guess what you're saying is that Reggie Bush never had the ability to walk away from the USC campus, never had the ability to walk away from practice, never had the ability to walk away from any of the benefits that he received that was in excess of his scholarship, Charlton, and no other athlete has had that ability also. And if they chose to leave, they'd probably get half their foot chopped off, or they would get tied to a post and given 40 lashes with a whip on their bare skin. Charlton, to say that an athlete in America is treated the same way that a slave was treated in America 200 years ago, I guess if you say it's the same, I guess that must have happened to you when you were in college.
No, I said you don't listen, and the whole world can hear you did not listen. I said that you want us to defend an illegal enterprise that even the United States Supreme Court said was an illegal enterprise. But I know you don't understand what an illegal enterprise is, so you want to keep defending the people that benefited from it. And when you talk about winning the right way, their crosstown rival, UCLA, Coach Terry Donahue, marked the passing of a true legend in college coaching, like the late John Wooden. And I know they never had anyone receiving a Rolls Royce at UCLA like Kareem Lou Alcindor supposedly drove a Rolls Royce at UCLA. Of course, he earned it while he was going to school, playing basketball. Google it. Terry Donahue, John Wooden, a lot of people that people worship to this day did the same thing that Reggie Bush was considered doing. But John Wooden's considered the maven and the father of college basketball championships, winning 10 NCAA championships, Big C. 88-game winning streak. UCLA's only won one championship since the late John Wooden stopped coaching at that program. But it's not just the Reggie Bush. There are a lot of players. If you're honest, if you're just a sycophant, just be like Harriet Tubman and pretend the slave masters have all the right. They didn't. That's why she ran away. She was intelligent, she was well-read, and she was well-trained. So we're going to always punish the athletes, for the most part African Americans, but there's no talk of punishing these white guys that we build statues over when they know. How did the guy afford a Rolls Royce when he came out of high school, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I was never aware that Kareem or Lou Alcindor had a Rolls Royce. This is the first I've heard of that story.
Well,
if
you read,
Google
you'll know.
and see where he had that at UCLA, Charlton. But I just find it hard to compare college athletics to slavery. I think that's abomination to the ancestors of black people.
Because you don't listen. I'm going to say it for the third time. Because you don't listen. I said an illegal enterprise is what the NCAA was according to the United States Supreme Court. Okay, the same court that ended slavery, Big C. They said that slavery was an illegal enterprise. You're trying to equate the two. But all you got to do is read more instead of being reactionary. And that's my opinion. So before we get into that, I just want to say, for all the college athletes out there, if your school's going on probation, if your school's lost scholarship, if you read, the United States Supreme Court said that the NCAA was committing antitrust violations. That means that they were crooked. Okay, they had an illegal enterprise. And all you got to do is Google it. You don't even have to trust my opinion. Just Google it. And why would an illegal enterprise be allowed to punish people for being under the auspices of an illegal enterprise? I know that's hard for a lot of people to grasp, but we're going to take what's called the Big C pause. also known as the Big C Timeout. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about people that go on and deal with things in life, and sometimes you need help, like the Sherman call 911, and you can do that to get help. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow Big C Sports, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for bringing Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Also, today's show is sponsored by Budweiser Zero, 100% on your game, 0% alcohol. It's all fair in love and war. And again, just like the Supreme Court, they had a unanimous vote to rule the NCAA was unconstitutional, but Big C wants to defend the unconstitutionality of the antitrust, which doesn't make any sense, but that's your opinion. College football, in a statement posted on Twitter on Tuesday, Big C, Terrell Pryor, when you think about this, and the four other former Ohio State Buckeyes, I think wide receiver DeVray Posey, defensive lineman Solomon Thomas, defensive tackle Mike Adams, and running back Daniel Boom Boom Heron, Big C, call out, think about this, for the school records and legacy to be restored, that the Ohio State Buckeyes, the nation can look at with the same love and fondness that they've always had for them. Because for people that read, they realize that these guys were punished by what the Supreme Court called an illegal enterprise. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I guess everything that is dealt with an illegal enterprise in America needs to be wiped off the table, and every part of those entities should not exist. So since they're an illegal enterprise, should the Supreme Court shut down college football in a whole, since it was an illegal enterprise, all of college athletics, since it was an illegal enterprise? You can't just, it's like the Voting Rights Act. You want to take out bits and pieces of it and say, okay, we'll accept that. But all of it as a whole, we want for it to stand.
No, I think it's real simple. They probably teach it in first grade, Big C. But if you'll stand back and stop trying to punish people who were victims, it's like a rape victim. Well, why'd you run away? Because I was held against my in captivity.
So you're saying a rape victim is the same as a college athlete?
No, but you don't listen.
I don't know what you're smoking out there in California, but maybe you need to not take such a deep puff on it, Charlton, because to compare rape to a college athlete getting benefits, I don't know how you want to, be so insensitive towards women who've had this gruesome act happen to them.
If we're going to be honest, I've never been accused of rape, okay? That's a fact. I can say that for true. The fact of the matter is, you said that, but you also don't listen. For people who are victims of crimes, no matter what that crime is, I don't know why you want to punish the people that were victims of a crime when the criminal act itself is ruled unconstitutional.
So you're saying that these athletes were forced to go to these institutions and they were forced to play football, just like you said, it's akin to slavery, that they were held against their will and they were forced to go out and play for these institutions and make these institutions money with no compensation of any kind.
Big C, I would just say, like a lot of first graders, they read the Supreme Court justices' opinions.
We're talking prior to the Supreme Court's actions. We know once a law is changed, because the Supreme Court has been around longer than college athletics has ever been around. And it is steadfast over the years. The Supreme Court is always going in and out of changing rules and laws, Charlton. But because they change the law now, does that make everything that happened 50 years ago illegal? So when they changed the Voting Rights Act and said that people of color did not need the right to be able to vote freely and willingly in America, is that illegal?
Well, I feel like sometimes I know some Olympic class swimmers and they're trying to teach someone to swim who's saying that swim is impossible. So I'll just let you Google some things that you don't understand, but it's okay. NCAA ruled in 2010 that Pryor had sold a sportsmanship award from the 2008 Fiesta Bowl in his 2008 Big Ten championship ring. Some guys believe a ring is more important than money. When they try to get gas, they give them a ring instead of money, and they're told this is not, we don't take the ring for your gas. You got to use cash, Big C. So a lot of guys took money from people that helped them out, and the NCAA took billions of dollars with impunity, and Congress said they were wrong. But when you go back to the Big Ten, Ohio State, and other programs around the country, after they beat rival Michigan, a controversial ruling in the NCAA allowed suspended players to participate in the Buckeyes' 31-26 win over Arkansas in the All-State Sugar Bowl. It was January 4th, 2011, just about 10 years ago. And the suspensions were to begin with the first game of the next season, though Pryor never played for the Buckeyes again after the Super Bowl. So all it takes is for smart people to realize, and I want every first grader in the country, in fact, every first grader all over the universe, to Google the United States Supreme Court, the antitrust violation. They ruled it illegal. So everybody that wants to punish athletes for being under an illegal oligarchy, just read the Supreme Court and don't worry about everybody's opinion. Big C, your thoughts.
So why doesn't the Supreme Court go back, Charlton, and enforce the rules of slavery when family members were sold off from slave masters and sold to somebody else, and they had no rights, and you stated slavery was an illegal act? How do people go back and get their family members back, Charlton, when they were sold off during slavery, during that draconian act where it was antitrust to have slaves and it was an illegal act in America?
Well, H.R. 1, another thing you can Google for your first graders, called H.R. 1, and it's in Congress right now for reparations. That's just
H.R. 1 helped those people find their kids that were sold off.
Well, that's an ignorant question, Big C. So you answer that question. As I said, Google the law and don't worry about somebody asking a question that makes no sense. You can't bring people back that have passed on. But former Ohio State coach Jim Tressel, who guided the Buckeyes to their first national championship in 34 years, second season, I think 2002, he resigned under pressure May 2011. His resignation, Big C, came nearly 3 months after the university announced it had suspended Tressel for 2 games, later increased to 5 games to match the player suspension. I think he was fined $25,000 for knowing that players have received, tattoos from a local parlor. I know a tattoo parlor in Northern California called Chula Tattoos. They do a lot of tattoos for athletes and entertainers. But for a player to lose a scholarship over getting a free tattoo, but the school takes in hundreds of millions of dollars on free labor, I guess you agree with that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it was more to do with the point spreads on games than it was the tattoo.
Maybe.
The gentleman that was giving away the free tattoos was benefiting from the point spreads on games because he had personal insight.
Yeah.
That was the reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too, Big C. But the players got punished and the guys and the betting got money. It's all fair and love and well. But you think about Tressel, I think he's now the president of Youngstown State in Youngstown, Ohio. He had denied any knowledge of his players receiving improper benefits until investigators showed him the emails that suggested that he had been told in April of 2010, like a lot of young athletes that drive around. You even drove a Cadillac in college. I mean, how'd you go out and make that money, Big C? It's all fair and love and war. At the same time, December 2011, NCAA banned Urban Meyer, his first Ohio State team, from playing in a bowl game, if you recall, and added additional scholarship reductions and another year of probation to the school's self-imposed penalties. Self-imposed, that's like doing a speeding violation, and you write your own violation. It's like, we're going to write the cost off, go paint a building for 30 minutes. But I think there's so many things you got to look at, Big C. Ohio State players, they plead closely, resembles a statement released by former USC star Reggie Bush, and I think the NCAA is right. All of these players that were punished by an illegal oligarchy should have those violations expunged. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the law was the law at the time. Because the law changes, I mean, you might as well just open up all the prison gates also in California and across the country, Charlton, and let everybody out, which they have not done when laws have been changed based on the crime that they committed at the time. I guess there no longer would be a criminal, and that criminal record would be totally expunged.
No.
But the laws were the laws at the time when they broke the record, the rules, and I believe that everybody was aware of it, whether it was people in the administration or whether it was people who were participating as an athlete.
Yeah.
What you're saying is no one was aware, no one should be culpable for their actions when laws change.
No, that's an ignorant statement. I know maybe it's hot down south, but you said it. So you got to learn to listen. You said it. I didn't say that. You said it. I said for even first graders to Google the Supreme Court decision. That's what I said. I said it 3 times. At the same time, Big C, the NCAA sports and the Supreme Court, they ruled the NCAA violated antitrust laws for over 150 years. But I know some people don't read, so they don't know that. They just want to punish the kids.
Was it the law of the land 20 years ago when those laws were in place? Were they the law of the land at that time?
I mean, I feel like I'm telling someone.
No, I'm just asking a simple question. I understand it's easy to avoid answering a question with becoming rhetorical. That's like when the speed limit changes, Charlton. If the speed limit on a strip of highway was 55 last week and you got a ticket, and all of a sudden they changed it to 65 the following week, did you break the law if you were doing 65 miles an hour the week before they changed the speed limit?
You answer that question. It's your question.
Well, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, I love that you're completely evasive every time I do answer a question.
No, it's
always Google because you can't answer the question.
No, it's just I know algebra and I know trigonometry, and to argue with someone who barely understands math is a waste of time to convince someone that the world is not flat. I mean, why would I have that argument? It makes me foolish. That's why I say Google it.
Well, this is not the guy that plays for the Nets that believes the world is flat.
He used to.
The little guard that they have?
Yeah, he used to. Maybe he was joking with people to get more media attention. It's all fair. I don't mean to be at odds with you, but again, if I know how to swim and you don't believe swimming's real, then there's no need going into it. That's why I tell people Google it. It's just an opinion. But the Olympic basketball, Big C, this is something that people, maybe we can't agree on this with all that Southern hostility and the heat that you've been bringing lately, Big C. The Team USA stabilized itself by putting together the most complete game of its Olympic preparation schedule. They beat Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. It was 108-80 on Tuesday night, Big C, after back-to-back losses that saw the Americans struggle with an offensive execution and defensive stamina that they showed more traction on both fronts 12 days before the Olympics opener in Tokyo in front of no fans. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a team that needs to come together quickly because the Olympics starts in less than 2 weeks. Yep. And they can't have those hiccups when they get there to Japan.
Yeah, they can't have those hiccups when they get there to Japan. It's something we can agree on because we should not be at odds. I like Rocky Road Ice Team. I think you like Vanilla. It's all fair in level war. Major League Baseball top 10 power rankings in the baseball universe. When you think about it and where the teams stand in the 2021 All-Star break, Major League Baseball, as we enter into the second half of the 2021 Major League Baseball season, Big C, in a season when many hitters and teams have struggled just to make an impact. The general philosophy is that two of those, when you think about it, 2 months wonders to stand out and those legitimate all-stars stand up. When you think about what happened, if a team is winning, it will climb the rankings. If a team is losing, it will slide inevitably. The beauty of the exercise is that it's a fluid process and things will continue to change. But where you end up doesn't mean that's where you started, Big C. Your thoughts?
No, it doesn't, Charlton. I mean, everyone has predictions in the preseason of who they expect to go out and dominate the season, Charlton, but it comes down to having hot bats and great pitching.
Yep.
That's what baseball is all about, and then periodically getting a break, having a ball slip through the infield and having one drop, having that called strike when it should have been a ball.
Yep.
But anybody in baseball who thinks that they know it all and can figure it out who's going to be the best, you got to wait until the umpire says it.
And depending on which umpire, if that makes sense to you, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! The girls love the long ball and men love hit the deep. It's all fair in level war, 11 Major League Baseball. But going back to that power rankings, and it's just an opinion. I don't need to be so hostile, Big C. It's just an opinion. I like California red wine. You like that Southern-made moonshine. It's all fair in level war. I'm going to start from 10-1. The Cincinnati Reds, they're not that big red wrecking crew back in the 70s, Big C, but they're 48-42, and they're playing good ball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when we go back to that year, Charlton, we think about what's going on in the present. The Cincinnati Reds have two of the best hitters in baseball, and they deservedly are in the top 10. But it comes down to that streak that's going to go over the last 2 months of the season.
Yeah, the last 2 months of the season. Number 9, the Oakland Athletics, known as the Oakland A's. They're also an elephant like the ones at Alabama, Big C. They're 52-40, and there's some talk that they may end up in Las Vegas within the next 5 years. Say it ain't so, Big C. Your thoughts?
they may not have enough money to leave town, Charlton, when you think about the lowest paid payroll in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But year in and year out, they come up with a winning formula.
DJ Khaled, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. It's all fair and level. Number 8, Big C, home of the Philly cheesesteak. Not the Philly cheesesteak, but what kind of cheesesteak do they have in Milwaukee? I guess it's called Buck. they got to turn up or turn down the heat on the Bucks tonight. But the Milwaukee Brewers, their number 8 spot, 53-39. Playing good baseball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they actually do brats and beer in Milwaukee, Charlton. It's very famous for that in that area. And you think about playing there at that dome stadium that they have, which is right across the street from the Pfizer Center, actually the Expressway, Charlton. You got two teams that are hot. One in the NBA playoffs and one in the pennant hunt in baseball.
It's all fair and level war. Big C down on the beautiful city of San Diego, California. The San Diego Padres coming in at number 7 with the great Tatis Jr., Big C. They are 53-40, and that's only good enough for 3rd place in the NL West, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're just like the Oakland A's, the last team standing in town. You've been abandoned by the basketball team, the football team, and you're the only show left, and they have to perform to keep people there.
There's a song back in the day. I see her face everywhere I go, on the TV and even on the radio. Have you seen her? I don't know who sang that song, but tell me, have you seen her? They're leaving in town and everybody's singing that song. Have you seen her? Big C, number 6 is the Houston Astros. They're 55-36. And I know they were busted for cheating, but they already told people, I'm from Texas, of course I cheat, Big C.
Well, that's the difference between college and professional, Charlton. You have a union, and they had a union in Major League Baseball that couldn't take away from anything of what the Astros did on the field, making multiple World Series appearances. And they're in the hunt to get back there again, led by Dusty Baker.
Led by the great Dusty Baker. Dusty wins everywhere he goes. He's like the tax man. He always collects. It's all fair in level war, Big C. The Tampa Bay Rays, down in that beautiful state of Florida, they're 53-37, coming in at number 5. And there's something about winning down in Tampa with the Lightning. You have the Rays won the AL last year and lost to the Dodgers. And then you have the Tampa Bay Lightning, Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the team that's under the most pressure in professional baseball. You had your football team win the Super Bowl. You had your hockey team win back-to-back championships. You're the only guys in town that hasn't won one yet. So look at the Rays and getting back to the World Series.
Where's the OJ? She used to be my girl. Deep down inside, I still love her. They still love winning down in Tampa's all fair and level war. The city called Beantown in Boston, coming at number 4, Big C. The Boston Red Sox are just balling this year, Big C. They are 55-36. And this is a team that was not expected to be at top of the AL East, Big C. Your thoughts?
This is a team that a year ago, Charlton fired their manager for coming in second to last place. They flip-flopped the scene this year, Charlton, and turned back into the winning Red Sox. And they're in the American League East hunt.
So everybody gets clam chowder. They get chowder, Big C. They don't get clam chowder. They get chowder in the city of Boston. It's all fair and level war in front of the Green Monster. Big C. Number 3, the Windy City. The city that has the sleepiest manager, the most well-rested manager, the skipper in baseball, the great Tony La Russa, who never saw a win because he was always napping, Big C, but they're 54-35, Big C. Your thoughts?
You talk about the best team in the American League, Charlton, on the south side of Chicago, the Sox, have not snuck up on anybody. Everyone knew with the talent they had coming in the spring ball that they would be a challenge for the pennant race, Charlton, and Tony La Russa has delivered.
Yeah, he's delivered. And the Blues Brothers got the band back together again. It's all fair in level war with the Chicago White Sox. Number 2, I love L.A., the city by the Pacific Ocean. The Los Angeles Dodgers, down on revenge for being the great late Tommy Lasorda, ate all the pasta up the stove, having the shortest of pasta in Southern California, Big C. But the Dodgers, defending World Series champions, I'm telling you, their manager's doing his thing. They're 56-35. And they're not really even playing their best baseball yet, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're playing as good as they can, but they have not snuck up on anybody. And every time you play the Dodgers, you're going to play your best in knocking off the defending world champions, Charlton. And they have not been able to garner that top spot in the West.
Yeah, they haven't been able to get that top spot in the West, but it's all fair and level war. Number 1 in the sports NBA Major League Baseball universe, the city by the bay, the San Francisco Giants, in the most beautiful ballpark in Major League Baseball. Oracle Ballpark, formerly AT&T, formerly Pac-Bell. Whoever has enough money to put on the sign, they'll take them, Big C. But what they haven't changed is McCovey Cove. What a beautiful place to see a game. And the only place in the Major League Baseball universe, where they train the seagull to fly in and deliver what they call mayonnaise for your French fries. But you know, the birds can't read, so sometimes it's not mayonnaise that they drop. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the team that nobody expected to be in the position that they are. In a lot of preseason polls, they were ranked anywhere between 22nd and 26th going into the season, but no one told the Giants that they couldn't get it done, and they believed in what they've done this year, Charlton. And right now, they're sitting with the best team in all of the major leagues.
Yeah, they're doing it 57-32. I left my heart in San Francisco. You know, they don't have the Bay Bridge toll crossing. You just get a ticket sent to your house. And so don't throw the mail away if you ever cross the Bay Bridge. They don't have the toll plazas anymore. People run through because of COVID. It's all fair and level war. So that's Big C's Power Top 10. Everybody has their own thoughts about it, and that's all important. I want to touch on something tonight because we have the game of the NBA tonight. Obviously, WNBA is having Team USA versus WNBA, and so I wish those ladies nothing but the best. But I know that there's a song called Life is a Highway. I want to ride it all night long. I hate highways sometimes, Big C. I'd rather take the off streets. That's a private joke. The great Lightning McQueen, Big C, your thoughts?
Lightning McQueen, you got to enlighten me to who he is.
At the movie Cars, Lightning McQueen, he won the Piston Cup. You know what a lot of guys do in their cups down south, Big C? He won the Piston Cup, Big C, your thoughts?
We normally hold cold drinks in our cups.
It's all fair. 11 war, the Tampa Bay Lightning know what it is. But I want to bring you to a game that's really important tonight, also sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on your game, and it goes great with that Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. It's all fair in Love and War. Big C, so many things went wrong in the Phoenix Suns in Game 3. Foul trouble for the great King DeAndre Ayton, Big C, robbed them of their only rim protector. The Suns missed 12 at their first. You think about it. They're 14 3-pointers. They missed 12 of them, Big C. And you have the great Drew Holiday magically remembered how to shoot from the other end. You have Torrey Craig, clearly wasn't himself after Game 2 injury at Big C. But the Bucks did the overwhelming majority of their damage when Ayton sat down on the bench. But getting into foul trouble, Big C, early, that didn't help him. It's not exactly a replicable strategy. Game 3 was the first time in this entire postseason, Big C, that he reached even 5 fouls, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, you got the big men in Milwaukee. You have to challenge Ayton. I mean, when you let him just roam around and you don't take the ball down in the paint, Charlton, he's going to be a nemesis for you from the offensive side for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
You know how well he's shooting from the floor, well over 74% for the playoffs, Charlton.
Yeah.
So you have to bring the ball to him and force him to play defense.
Yeah.
And he got in foul trouble when they put the big bodies on him.
Yeah, he got in a lot of foul trouble when they put the big bodies on him. But you know, the NBA wanted to even that series. So some good old boys told me there's too much money to lose if we have a 4-game sweep. And then you have back in the Valley of the Suns. You know, in Arizona, it can get so hot, people don't even have to use a skillet to cook an egg. They just go outside and put it on the sidewalk, Big C. But the great Devin Booker isn't going to shoot 3 of 14 anymore. In fact, he'll probably never shoot 3 of 14 in the universe, Big C. It's all fair and level war, but the Suns got outscored by 13 points in 5 minutes with Frank Kaminsky on the floor. That's not good, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's the backup man in the middle, and Kaminsky is not the defensive president Ayton is, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is why it's very important for Ayton to stay on the floor, but it's also important that the Milwaukee Bucks attack him, Charlton, and force him to play defense.
Yeah, there's a movie out there by the great John Wynn. It's called Do You Like What You See When You Look in the Mirror? It's called Mirror, Mirror is All Fair and Level War. It's a great movie by John Wynn, the owner of the Wynn Network. It's All Fair and Level War. And when you think about it, Big C, trying to align Ayton's bench minutes with Giannis Antetokounmpo as much as possible, and then go back to the small ball lineup that could at least score against the Bucks, Big C. It's something that you talked about, playing big ball. That would mean that more minutes and 3-pointers for Cameron Johnson and Brook Lopez would have us way in the post against a smaller group. As you always pointed out this before the season era began, Bobby Portis had just four offensive rebounds, Big C. Your thoughts in Game 3?
Well, when you're going against a smaller lineup, you got Portis at 6'10", you got Lopez at 7'1". They should be able to dominate the glass when you have Ayton sitting on the bench, Charles, because Phoenix, you know, unless you bring Carroll down inside, that's the only really athletic big guy that they have. But he's only 6'7", so he can't play amongst the trees.
Yeah, he can't play among the trees. I wish everybody nothing but the best. I think what I love about Big C Sports, we don't have a teleprompter. We don't have an earplug in the ear. Nobody's writing our scripts. No one's telling us what to say. We speak from our higher self. People call it extemporaneous speaking. It comes out of the universe. And I like it. I like hot sauce on my chicken wings. Big C likes hot sauce without chicken wings. It's all fair in love and war, but we just try to do our best to be honest and factual. It doesn't have to always agree, but we should not be at odds. I want to talk about, as we close, something that's so important to me. And I know we open with that 911 call, and I hope that any man or woman or child going through any type of garbage, just pick up that phone, and there's 3 numbers. You don't have. It's hard to remember somebody's phone number, but it's easy to remember 911. It just call it, and they can de-escalate things more than asking somebody, come on, calm down, that's not cool, calm down. But I want to touch on something that's important to me, African American history, Big C. We do it more than just in February. You think about when Vita Blue of the Oakland Athletics faced off against the Pittsburgh Pirates, Doc Ellis, in 1971 All-Star game. Big C, it was 50 years ago. It was the first time that 2 black pitchers, Big C, that started in the Midsummer Classic, but the fact was barely known when you think about it, Big C, by the media, mainstream media, in part because the big leagues were full of black stars back then, and it's especially true for the National League. From 1953 to 1959, every National League MVP was African American, Big C. You can Google it. That was also the case from 1965 to 1969. You can Google that. You're not going to hit us anywhere else but Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe. And you can Google that, Big C. When you think about it, 7 of the National League MVP awards in the 1960s, they were won by black or Afro-Latino players, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's back in the day pre-television, Charlton, where everybody wanted to publicize how great it was to play in the NFL and the NBA. And notoriety for black athletes in the 60s, Charlton, and 70s came from playing professional baseball. It was America's pastime. It was the most broadcast sport there was in America. And blacks got notoriety. Plus, you had the best pitcher in the world in Major League Baseball, Charlton. You think about Vita Blue, where he came from in Mississippi, and coming in as a rookie and going to Oakland with Charlie Finley, there with the A's, and making him a star, Cy Young winner, Charlton, Rookie of the Year, and also starting an All-Star game in his first year. And even Doc Ellis, you know, the pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And both of these teams faced each other in the World Series that year also, Charlton. The background that he came from. You know, he dropped out of high school because he had to deal with so much racial vitriol as a young man in the 60s, Charlton. At 14 years of age, he dropped out of high school, and someone saw him on the street and got him back into another high school, Charlton, because he was a great talent, and he had saw him playing in Little League Baseball. And that propelled him to go on and be one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and Major League Baseball is all fair in love and war. Now, listen up for anybody that follows sports podcasts. And oftentimes, people only talk about what happened in the last day or two, or the last week or two, or maybe the last month. But Big C Sports goes way back to listen to this date, America, and all over the universe, even over across the pond in England and Africa. If you're at the Eiffel Tower, listen to this. If you're at the pyramids of Egypt, listen to this. It's all fair in love and war, Big C. The American League did not have an African-American MVP until 1963. You hear that, Mr. Manfred? That should be acknowledged, even more so than just Big C Sports. The New York Yankees' Elton Howard, Big C, he was quickly followed by Zela Versailles in 1965, Big C. You had the great Frank Robinson in 1966, and that was 5 years after he had been the National League MVP, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when we just think about the paralysis of these great black athletes when given an opportunity to showcase their talents, there was nobody better. And Frank Robinson was the first player to win the MVP in both the American and National League, Charlton, with the Cincinnati Reds and Baltimore Orioles. And he was also the first black manager, Charlton, of the National League. So when we think about giving black athletes an opportunity, Charlton, whether it's on the field or managing a team, they've always had the ability.
Always had the ability, because all life came from Africa. If anybody's successful, the root of the tree started in Africa, according to science. I know some people don't believe in science, but Google Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendo, especially you first graders. No matter what your teachers teach you about history, Google Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendo when they start talking about Ancestry.com. They even admit that all life came from Africa. Google it. 1971. Think about this. The game in Detroit's Tiger Stadium. Both dugouts boasted plentiful African-American talent. among rosters and coaching staffs that featured 25 eventual Hall of Famers, Big C. And the starting outfield for the National League was Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, Big C, Willie Stargell, Henry Aaron, Hammer and Hank was honored last night in the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. It's all fair and level war, the 91st All-Star Game. That was in homage to that great Hammer and Hank Aaron, Big C. Besides Ellis, the pitching staff of the senior circuit featured Ferguson Jenkins, Don Wilson, Bobby Bonds, the father of everybody, the great Lou Brock, Big C, Willie Davis, Roberto Clemente, and reserve outfielders both starting. First baseman Willie McCovey, when you think about it, McCovey Cole in San Francisco is named after him, Willie McCovey. And backup Nate Colbert, Big C, they were black men. Manny Sullivan was also a substitute catcher, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about those players, and many of them are enshrined in baseball's Hall of Fame.
That's right.
The era of the great black baseball player in Major League Baseball, Charlton, is a bygone era to a degree.
Yeah.
Because they no longer want to let black players be the face of the game any longer in America, where they dominated in the 60s and 70s, Charlton, as you mentioned, multiple MVPs in succession. And for them to be able to accomplish that feat, and many of them were coming out of Jim Crow time in America and out of segregation, Charlton, and being assimilated into normal society.
Yep, very well. And because those laws were considered unconstitutional, they no longer exist today, Big C, just like with the NCAA ruling. In the opposite dugout, I want Manfred, listen up, because you're hearing something from Big C Sports that you don't hear on ESPN. You don't hear this on Fox Sports or ABC Sports or NBC. You don't even hear it on the Baseball Network. But you follow it on Big C Sports. All these sponsors know what I'm talking about. In the opposite dugout, the American League was starting Big C, Rod Carew at second, and Robinson in right field. Cuban Mike Sellers, Big C, was part of the pitching rotation. Amos Otis and Don Buford, Tony Alvera, and Reggie Jackson, they were reserve outfielders. The All-Star Game itself was pretty special, Big C. Listen up, Sports Universe, all of you broadcasters and sponsors that sponsor Major League Baseball team, and you're giving them tens of millions of dollars, and they don't even give you what Big C Sports is giving you. It's called the special list. You know, you had that special list at some hamburger places where you got to ask for the special list, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I try to avoid those places, trying to keep my weight down and keep a sexy waistline.
We know it's all muscle, Big C. It's all muscle. By game's end, 6 home runs, hit deep is all fair. In other words, 6 home runs have been hit by 6 players, all of whom made it to the Hall of Fame. Bench, you have Aaron, Jackson, Robinson, Killebrew, and Clemente. Home runs accounted for all the scoring, not some, but all the scoring in the contest. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's when the long ball was part of baseball, and no one talking about the ball being doctored or pitchers doctoring up the baseball.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you think about African Americans at that time, Charlton, being able to launch the ball out of the park and dominate at Old Tiger Stadium there in Detroit, which was a picturesque setting for baseball in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, I love what's going on with baseball last night. I'm glad that they did pay homage to Hammer and Hank Aaron, Big C. And everybody has their own opinion about what we do about baseball and honoring people. And how do we right or wrong? It's called reparations. But I want every young African-American kid, and even Caucasian, and any kid all over the country, it doesn't matter even where you are in the world. All I ask is everybody wants to feel significant. Everyone wants liberty and justice for all. We don't always have it, but we can work for it. Just because laws existed in the past that discriminated against people, like Jim Crow laws or the antitrust laws, it doesn't mean that they can't be changed, but they're only changed by having that dialogue, and dialogue makes everything happen. I wish everybody the best. Big C, as we close out, I know if I ask you this, I might be afraid, but I know we want to pay homage to the great Noah for bringing all the venison across from Noah's Ark, Big C, and bringing them all through the flood. But if there's a way for Milwaukee to win tonight, and I'm going to ask you about Phoenix in the next 20 seconds for each, if the way for Milwaukee to win tonight, Big C, what must they do?
You know, you got to get some productivity out of their backcourt with Holiday and Middleton. Those are going to be the key to the success of the game tonight. Everyone is expecting for Giannis to get his points, but I think Bobby Portis will be integral off of the bench also. And don't be surprised if Lopez scores in the double digits. In the double digits, Big C. That's a good synopsis for Milwaukee. Home of the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. You can figure out what's on that burger.
the Phoenix Suns, in order to cook a buck, you can't just put it in the oven and not turn it on. You got to turn it up to a pretty high degrees, Big C. What degrees must Phoenix reach tonight if they're going to take a 3-1 series lead, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, they have to avoid the frustration that they lived in Game 3 in this series, Charlton. They have to get more productivity from their guards. We know that Derek Booker had a paltry shooting night. Cameron Payne really has to be that sixth man off the bench.
Yeah.
But DeAndre Ayton needs to get back to his solid shooting ways and stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, got to stay out of foul trouble. Everybody, just rise and shine. You don't have to agree, but don't be at odds. In the words of the great Dr. Niggins, we wish you love, peace, and soul. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I'm really looking forward to this game tonight in Milwaukee. I think the winner of the game tonight will win the NBA title, whether we go out of Milwaukee with a 2-2 tie or a 3-1 Phoenix, Charlton. The winner of this game will be hoisting the next Larry O'Brien trophy. Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. If you pull a muscle lifting up that trophy, they'll have a bandage for you.
I'm stuck on bandage because backache is stuck on me. And all we do is win, 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 no matter what. The Drake Cheesecake calendar. You follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow. You can even follow on Comcast Television, the Big C Sports Podcast. As we always tell you, my mama always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.